On Used Bike Heaven this week, we'll be helping Louise Cain from Northern Ireland to find a replacement for her CB500S. We'll have another featured used bike, some more riding advice and another biking legality. This is Louise Cain from Portadown in Northern Ireland. She works as a researcher in television. Recently, she had her beloved CB500S stolen and burnt out. So this week, we're helping her to find a replacement.
Hello and welcome to the show, and I have Louise with me. So Louise, what's been happening with your bike?
Unfortunately, it was stolen a couple of weeks ago. Police have recovered it, but it's been burnt out.
Oh,
so
never.
I'm without transport, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's a very original excuse for one of our punters. Anyway, I'll give you that. So what are you looking for then today?
I'd like something a bit bigger. My last bike was 500cc, so I'd like something a little bit bigger engine size, and I need something I can do a lot of miles on and also have to be comfortable in the town on it as well.
Right, so you do a lot of in-town traffic?
Yeah, a lot of traffic.
Right, so it needs to be a bit nimble then.
It does indeed, yes.
Great. So what's your budget?
About the £4,000 mark.
Okay then, that's great. Well, I'll show you what we've got this week.
Okay.
We've got the Suzuki SV650S. Now that's £3,000, so that's well below your budget. What do you think of that?
I like the SV. I mean, I like how the bike looks, and also I've heard a lot of good reports about them. I know people who've got them, and yeah, I've heard it's a pretty good little bike.
Good fun to ride. That
Yes,
one.
yes.
Well, if we move on to bike number 2, the Honda Transalp. Now this is 3,300. So again, we're not well
too
into your
bad,
budget.
yeah.
You know, we're not too bad. What do you think of the looks of that?
Not bad. It just looks a bit chunky for me. That's all. Looks a bit sort of
quite
big.
yeah.
Yeah.
They look quite daunting, these. I think when you get on it, you might not feel it's too
Once you
bad.
get moving, yeah.
But we'll always see about that.
Okay.
And then last but by no means least, the BMW 650CS. What do you think of that one?
It's very different. I do like the looks. It's very funky and a bit unusual. So yeah, quite like that as
I've
well.
not told you the price of that, have I?
No.
That's £4,500.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, it's a good bike. It's a good buy. So I mean, you never know. You may fall in love with it and decide to splash out. So you like the looks of them?
I
then?
do. Yes.
Good. Right. Well, we're going to let you loose on them.
Okay.
But before we do, we're going to go to Paul, who's going to give you some facts and figures and some hints and tips on how to deal with them.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, Louise, first up this week is Suzuki's SV650S. This sporty-looking bike with its 90-degree V-twin motor has established itself as a sweet-handling machine with enough power to provide lots of fun and excitement. This being the S model, it has a half fairing, twin headlamps and clip-on style bars, which are actually quite low to help give the rider the feeling of being aboard a true sports machine. One word of advice, Louise, is to be aware of the engine braking from the V-twin motor. Don't knock it down too many gears when approaching junctions, or you could find the back end skipping around. This bike is a T registered from 1999. It's in standard trim and has covered less than 9,000 miles. It's the cheapest this week at £3,000. If you're more interested in comfort than sporty looks, then our next bike may just do the trick. Honda's XL650V or the Transalp. Yes, it does look a little on the tall side, but once you climb aboard, we're confident that you'll enjoy the riding position, which has you perched fairly upright in the soft padded seat, and with the bars being quite wide and high, you should feel nice and relaxed. The motor in the Transalp is once again a V-twin, this time with the cylinders set at 52 degrees. Power though is well down on the Suzuki, so it could feel a little flat in comparison. This bike, Louise, is from the year 2000 and is on a W registration. It's covered 10,500 miles and has the added luxury of a large Jivvy top box fitted by the previous owner. It comes with a full service history and is yours today for £3,300. And finally, Louise, something just that little bit different, or to use your own words, funky. This is BMW's F650CS. This model was introduced at the very end of 2001, and BMW claim it has all the qualities desired by the newcomer to biking. But that's not to say that it won't do the job for an experienced rider like yourself. It's very comfortable, it's easy to ride, and the single-cylinder motor delivers a very smooth 50 or so brake horsepower. Final drive is by way of a belt, which is claimed is good for 24,000 miles, so no more messy chains to worry about. You'll notice that the fuel tank on the CS is below the seat, which leaves a very useful luggage compartment in the top fairing. As standard, it's fitted with a soft bag which converts to a rucksack, but there is a hard cover available should you prefer something a little more substantial. This bike is from this year and it's covered just 2,000 miles. Extras include a £300 laser exhaust, which is road legal, and heated grips, which would normally set you back £175. It's the most expensive this week, but still very good value at £4,500.
So that was Paul with some facts and figures. Did you learn anything from it?
Yeah, that was useful, yeah.
Yes, he's very useful.
He is.
Paul. So we're going to set you off on the Suzuki. Have you ever been on one of these before?
I haven't, no.
Right, brilliant. Well, we're looking forward to hearing what you think. So go and get kitted up then and let us know. Right. So while Louise has a blast on the SV, we're over to Paul with this week's used bike review.
Having sat back for a couple of years and watched Suzuki's 600 Bandit enjoy the lion's share of sales, Honda obviously thought, hang on a minute, we'll have a bit of that if you don't mind. So basically all they've done in 1998, they released this, and simply it is a CBR 600 engine just stuck in what is a very basic, very plain looking sort of retro naked style street bike, call it what you like really. Personally, I don't think the 600 Hornet looks very exciting. Doesn't look exciting to me. It's a bit of a plain Jane. Now that's not to say I find it unattractive. It's nice, but just not exciting. And it's probably because it's very good actually. It just does everything very well. It does everything that you'd expect of this style of bike with, well, I suppose you'd say with consummate ease, almost to the point of being boringly good. The fact is, the 600 Hornet is good. It's very, very good. There's plenty of power, there's plenty of comfort as well. Weight-wise, at 176 kilos though, it is actually in the same ballpark as most decent 600cc sports bikes. There's actually nothing bad you can say about a 600 Hornet. It's a damn good bike, and I've spoken to people who own these, people who ride them, and I've also spoken to mechanics in my local dealers who work on the bikes and service them, and they say, yeah, there's nothing wrong with them. They say they're well finished, well put together, all the rest of it, seem to go on forever. Reliability is not a problem with one of these. What I would say is though that it's, well, I think, a slightly difficult bike to categorise. If you're looking for where it fits in the bike world, well, you think sporty, sports performance and sports ability. Yeah, it's got plenty of performance, enough to have lots of fun, and it's got a lot of ability as well. And in the right hands, this would keep up with the boy racers scratching around the country lanes. And on a track day, and I've ridden one of these on a track, they are great fun. In fact, they even had their own race series, isn't it? Was it called the Hornet Cup or something some years ago? So lots of sporting ability. Looks-wise, retro looks, well, kind of, sort of, not quite true retro, I would say. So it's not a true sports bike, it's not a true retro bike, but it's fair to say it's definitely got a foot in both camps. It crosses the border just enough, I think, on both sides. So if you're looking for an all-rounder, this could quite possibly fit your bill. The previous owner has actually left the tank harness on here, so you can put your tank bag on there. And there's another good thing, if you're buying a bike that's got a tank harness on it already, take it off and have a look underneath, because it could be there to disguise something. This tank could have a huge gouge in it and all be scratched and all dinted under there. So take the tank harness off and have a look underneath. This in a showroom with its less than 3,000 miles would sell for about £3,300, and it's a smart bike. But I'll go back to my original point when I said visually it's not exciting for me. Well, I stand by that because visually I don't think it's got that wow factor that certain bikes have. This hasn't got it for me. But I would say once you've ridden it, you might just change your mind.
Well, thank you, Paul. And while you're away, Louise came back with the Suzuki. What did you think?
I really, really liked it. It's a good punchy little engine, nice lively little bike. The only thing I wasn't too keen on is the slightly dropped bars.
Right.
Just found my weight was a bit too far forward, which not what I'm used to. But other than that, yeah, I really, really liked her.
Right. Well, those drop bars, I mean, this is the 650S, and the drop bars, the without the S, the 650, has slightly higher bars, so that might be better. Yeah. You do like this bike.
Yes.
What do you think of the V-twin?
I did like the V-twin engine. Obviously, my bike was a parallel twin. This, you know, there's a lot of grunt there. You just feel like she just wants to go. And yeah, it's just smooth enough for a V-twin, and I did really like her.
Really? Now, what do you think? Because these have quite a bit of engine braking as well. Does that put you off, or does that?
No, I like the engine braking. Yeah. It's quite useful, I find. You know, if you don't want to be braking too hard, normally you just run her down the gearbox. It's not a problem. But yeah, the engine braking was fine. Not a problem at all. So you're happy with the power then, handling and everything? Oh yeah, she handles really nice. Brilliant. Like I say, only slight problems is drop bars. Other than that, brilliant little bike. Yeah, and it's within your budget. Well, within your budget. Right, so anything that, I mean, looks-wise, anything you're not too keen on?
You like the half fair?
Yeah, I do like the half fair, and looks-wise she's fine. I think she's a really nice looking bike. And good height as well, and get my feet down to the ground.
Brilliant.
Not a problem.
That always helps.
It does, yeah.
Well, you sound like a very easy lady to please, I must say. Well, that's that one then. Let's move you over to the Transalp. So you're a bit worried about the size of this one?
Yeah, she just looks a little bit tall and a little bit broad. Other than that, yeah.
Well, give it a go.
Okay.
And take it easy, obviously, to start with until you find your feet. If you can get them down, that'd be great.
Yeah, no problem.
And let us know what you think.
Okay.
Okay. So while Louise takes the Honda out, we're over to Paul and PC Pulfrey and this week's biking legalities.
Well, thank you, Fran. This week we're back to speeding again, and we've touched on this before, Chris. We spoke about cameras that don't have policemen with them, fixed camera sites and things. I want to talk about cameras because we've had lots of questions. Cameras operated by a policeman. Mm-hmm. For example, on a motorway bridge, when the policeman's there with his radar gun, getting the traffic coming down towards him, he takes a picture of a car, it's got a number plate on it, yeah, fine. If he takes a picture of a bike, it hasn't got a number plate on it.
Right.
So does that mean if you see a policeman on a bridge, you don't need to slow down? That's what this guy's saying here.
Yes, you don't need to slow down.
Well, yeah, I know it is, but what he's saying is, if I don't slow down, it doesn't matter, because if he takes me a picture, he doesn't know who I am.
But there are various ways we can combat that.
Yeah.
You could be working with a partner, who could then be spotting the bike as it goes away and pick up registration plate.
Right.
It could be you've got a device whereby you've got the speed detection equipment focused on the bike, but the camera is focused the opposite direction to pick up the registration plate.
No, that's quite clever, isn't it?
You can work in cahoots with somebody further down the road. If there's a particular problem, for instance, you might go down a pair of you.
Yeah.
So you can say, right, I've just stopped, or just seen ZZR, Kawasaki, rider in red, white helmet, travelling at so-and-so speed, and then your partner down the road knows exactly what the vehicle is and can pull it in.
Right, okay. Right, so you do have to slow down.
Yes.
Right. What about the guidelines for speed limits? I mean, is there a national guideline that tells you when you should be stopping vehicles?
Yeah, basically, if you were, rule of thumb is 10% plus 2 miles an hour.
10% plus 2 miles an hour. So that's on a motorway, that's 79 miles an hour?
Yeah, and then you can be looking at potentially getting a fixed penalty ticket. And that's potentially £1,000 fine, plus points, possible disqualification, and possible retest.
Right, okay. So what's this? I heard a long time ago, someone said, if you're doing more than 30 above the limit, say on a motorway, if you're doing less than a tonne and you get pulled, you'll probably get a fixed penalty. If you're doing above a tonne, you will certainly get a summons, and you may well. Is that
yes.
right?
Yeah.
So it's on a motorway, if you're more than 30 mile an hour over the limit.
If you're doing 100 miles an hour, you're going to get reports on summons, yeah.
Right, fine. There you go. So we've cleared it up. So they can catch you. So be very careful.
Thanks, Paul and Chris. Well, that's it for part one. Join us in part two when we ask Louise what she thinks to the Honda and we send her out on this rather funky looking BMW. And Paul will be back to waffle on some more about his riding advice. See you after the break. Welcome back to Used Bike Heaven. Now, if you're with us before the break, you'll know we're with Louise, who had a bike stolen and set on fire. So she's looking for something that's nimble around town and easy to ride. So we sent her out on the Suzuki SV650S. She liked that very much, but thought the riding position was a bit extreme. So then we sent her out on the Honda Transalp. And what did you think to it?
I liked it. It was comfortable, which I wasn't expecting, obviously, with the height. Very easy to ride, high handlebar position, your feet are forward, very, very comfortable. Basically like grip big armchair, but it just was too tall, basically, far too tall.
So power, what did you think to that?
It's a bit down on par, obviously, compared to the SV.
Right.
But it was very smooth, a lot smoother, on takeoff than the SV.
Yeah.
But looking at it for such a big bike, you'd expect it to have a bit more grunt.
I was going to say, that's why I asked you about powers. I wondered if you found it underpowered. Is it a 50 brake horsepower as opposed to 70 brake horsepower?
Yeah.
And I thought you might think because the size of the bike.
Yeah,
There
did
might not
feel
be
a
enough
little
power
bit
there.
down on par.
Yeah.
But other than that, not bad.
Yeah. So did it feel like a quality bike then, this?
Oh, it did, definitely. I mean, the way the dash and everything's laid out, superb, very, very clear. And I like the hand guards. Keep the wind off your hands.
Absolutely,
so it's a bit cozier.
Yeah.
So yes, I like that.
Makes a big difference in this kind of weather.
Definitely, yes.
Well, we've got one more for you to try.
Okay.
So if you step this way, let's go to it. The BMW 650 CS. The one that you said was funky before.
Yes.
So, do you still like the looks of it?
I do, yes. I like what they've done with the styling. It's very different for a Beamer.
Well, we're very interested to see what you think to this one, especially because it is £1,500 more than the first one you rode. Okay, so you get your helmet on. Let me know what you think.
Lovely.
So while Louise does her third and final test, we're over to Paul and his riding advice.
Well, thank you very much, Fran. Now, over the last 15 weeks, we've looked at different riding tips, ways to help you improve your riding, and also lots of ways to help keep you safe when you're out on the road. So I thought it was about time we just had a little look back. So perhaps 6 little tips here all in one go. 6 of the best, if you like, in no particular order. A long time ago, we spoke about making yourself visible when you're out on your bike. And I don't mean by wearing loads and loads of day-glow gear and loud clothing. I mean by putting you and your bike on a part of the road that makes you visible to other road users. If they don't know you're there, you've no chance. So, for example, if you're following a van, don't go right behind him because he's no rear view mirror. He won't see you. Get to the side of him. Look in his wing mirrors. If you can see the driver, he can see you. Going out for a ride with your mates in a convoy, it's great fun riding with other bikers, but don't ride in single file down the road. Don't tailgate the bike in front, because if he decides he needs to stop quickly, you're going to go straight into the back of that bike. Ride in a staggered formation, gives you a good view of the row ahead, and also if you need to stop, you've got somewhere to go, you can go alongside the other bike instead of going into the back of him. When you're riding in the winter, in bad weather, be aware and just remind yourself that roads that are normally good, you know these are good roads, good services, great fun in the summer. In the winter, different story. They can become treacherous. Little ruts and little bumps and potholes in the road that you've never noticed can really cause you an awful lot of problems. If it's a frosty night, you go out the next day. It's a sunny afternoon, but if there's been no sun on the road all day, that road could still be frozen, so you need to take extra care. When you're out on your bike, use road markings and things around you to gather information about the road, particularly if it's a road that you're not familiar with. A great way of doing it is using solid white lines. A solid white line system in the road is an indication that there's a hazard up ahead. So if you're travelling along, there's a broken line, the road's probably going to be okay. If that line becomes solid, it's because you're going to be approaching a hazard. It could be a junction, could be anything, it could be just that the road tightens up. Where the solid white line on your side of the road becomes broken, generally speaking, that's where the road will open up and you can generally accelerate and you've got a better view of the road ahead. So use road markings to your advantage. When you're overtaking, and particularly when you're overtaking and you're riding with your mates, don't assume that just because your mate on his or her bike in front of you has found it safe to overtake a vehicle, it's safe for you to do so. Very often it's not. Let them go and then have a look and check that it's safe. Ride for yourself. You're in charge of your bike. If your mate goes through and you follow him and you come a cropper, it's you that gets hurt, not him. So ride for yourself. And finally, I would say, always expect the unexpected. There's an old law, isn't there, that says, if it can go wrong, it probably will. And it gets all wobbly, and the throttle's going backwards and forwards, and you fall off. Yeah, I'm fine. See what I mean? There you go. See you next time.
Well, thank you, oh knowledgeable one. And while you were away, Louise came back with the BMW. What did you think?
I liked it, really liked it. It's just so easy to ride. And obviously being a big single, I was expecting her to be a bit more snatchy, but she wasn't. Very, very smooth, and I can get my feet down.
Looks-wise, we know it's a bit unusual, isn't it?
It's a bit, yeah.
Sounds very good, this one.
Oh, it sounds incredible, doesn't it, with the can and everything on?
Well, that's it. I mean, it might be 4,500, but it's got, you know, an aftermarket, road legal.
Important bit.
Great sounding can, yeah. Okay, so briefly then, we need to know, if you can remember that far back, what you think of the Suzuki, the SV650S.
It was loads of fun to ride. I mean, obviously it looks good and it's got that racy riding position and everything. That was the bit that put me off. Too much weight going forward through my wrists.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, really lively little bike, and I did like it, yes.
Yeah.
Loads of fun.
So then, good and bad points, briefly about the Transalp.
Good point. Again, it was easy to ride, a very, very comfortable riding position, obviously well laid out, and that's a Honda.
Quality bike.
Quality bike. Just for me, it's too tall, or I'm too small.
Right. So I get the feeling that it's between these two. Don't tell me too much, but is it between these two?
Yeah, between the BMW and the Suzuki.
Okay. Well, we know what you think to the BMW. So you have made your decision then?
I think so, yes.
Okay, so we're going to go to Paul, who's going to give us a recap.
Lovely.
Okay, Louise, it's make your mind up time. Will you take Suzuki's SV650S at £3,000? You said it felt very lively, it has good looks, and it really wanted to go. However, the riding position is a little bit too focused and you said the bars were too low. Maybe then you'll take Honda's Transalp at £3,300. You certainly found this to be very comfortable, very smooth, and said it would be good for long distance, but perhaps it's just a little bit on the tall side. Or maybe you'll choose the most expensive BMW's 650 CS at £4,500. This certainly seemed to be your favourite, but it is way out of your budget. You should be aware though that BMW do offer a rather attractive insurance package on this model, which might be worth some further investigation, so maybe you will afford it after all.
Well, that was our poll with a recap, Louise. Put me out of my misery. Which one's it going to be?
It's going to have to be the BMW.
Do you know, I thought you might say, I don't know what, I thought you were going to swing towards this one. I mean, why?
It's just the most practical, I think, and especially for my height, I feel the most confident on this bike, particularly through traffic. Whenever the traffic built up out there, I didn't want to attempt to take the Transalp through the middle of it. On this, I'd have been well away, definitely.
Do you know all about the insurance incentives on these as well then?
I've heard a little bit, and especially when my bike having been stolen and having to claim on my insurance, I think perhaps a BMW insurance deal could be what I need.
You see, so even though I've blown your budget, I've probably saved you money.
Exactly.
That's it, exactly. So you're happy with it then?
I am, yes.
That's brilliant. Well, that's it. Another satisfied customer. I can't believe it. Thank you very much, Louise.
No problem.
Well, that's it. We'll see you next time for some more used bike heaven. Well, Louise, let's go and get this insurance sorted out.
So if I push on the right, although the wheel is turning to the left, if I'm going along at any kind of speed, the bike will go to the right. And it's as simple as that. Push left to go left, push right to go left, to go left, to go f***ing right. Were you going to say pull up?
And we're on to the Kawasaki, the V-twin.
Suzuki.
Oh,
A decent Sport 600 in the right hands was more than a match for the 750. So then in 1996, guess what? The dog walked up to the bike.
we started him out on the Triumph ST. Oh, I just swore. What are we linking to?